I'll call the Public Utility Commission meeting to order. It is 9:30 a.m., June 30th, room 413, the State Capitol Building. I'm Chairman Nelson. I'll be chairing today. With me in the meeting room is Commissioner Fegan and Commissioner Hanson. Before we begin today, we're going to do something that I have never done before. And that is recognize an employee who has been with us for 50 years, and I will likely never be able to do this again. Mr. Rizlov, 50 years ago, chose this place as his first job, and for our great fortune, has also chosen it as his last job. We greatly appreciate that. I did a little rough math, and he has attended probably about 1,200 regular PUC meetings, not including hundreds of hearings and ad hoc meetings and public input meetings and meetings galore over those 50 years. It's been a stellar career. And while we wish we could give you a golden parachute, we don't do those things in state government. But what we do have is a 50-year pin, which I've never seen before, and we'd like to give that to you. And also on behalf of Governor Roden, a challenge coin from the governor. Greg, if you would come up and...
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay. You good pick? Good? Oh, that's all, yep, that's all three.
50-year pin. Uh-oh.
It's tough to smile this early in the morning.
Okay, okay.
And that will be the most important thing that I do all day, is recognizing Greg for his 50 years, and each of you have had an opportunity to work with him and get to know him and understand what a treasure he is for us, and what a loss it will be for us this time next week when he is no longer in the office. With that, we have our next potential 50-year employee, Deb Gregg, for Consumer Utility Inquiries.
I have a ways to go. Well, not that far, actually, as Jason Shugard pointed out to me. The commission received a total of 30 contacts since the last report was prepared for the June 18th, 2026 commission meeting. 1 contact was related to telecommunication services, 13 contacts related to electric service, 3 contacts related to wireless service, 1 contact was related to natural gas, 2 contacts related to gas and electric service, 1 contact was related to unwanted calls in the Do Not Call registry, 1 contact was related to wind energy, and 8 contacts related to issues that are not regulated by the PUC. 745 of the 764 contacts received in 2026 have been resolved.
Thank you. Questions? And I understand you've been keeping track of the service in the Highmore area and
Yes.
getting regular updates from Northwestern.
That's
They've been
correct.
making good progress.
They've been making great progress.
And brought some generators in to help some of
Correct.
those areas that it's going to take a little bit longer to actually get connected to the grid. Is that accurate?
That is correct. Yep,
Okay.
so they're doing a remarkable job, so
Thank you,
You
and
bet,
thanks for
thanks.
keeping us up to date
You bet.
on that. Other questions? Okay, if not, Deb, thank you. I think we can pretty much go through our agenda today in order. We'll take the addendum item at the end. And so with that, we'll start with TC 26-001 in the matter of the application of Grasshopper Group LLC for a certificate of authority for inter-exchange services in South Dakota. And the question is, shall the commission grant Grasshopper's request for a certificate of authority to provide inter-exchange telecommunication services in South Dakota, or how shall the commission proceed? And we will go to Grasshopper.
Good morning, Commissioners and staff. This is Lisa Peters with QTech Rock LLP, South Dakota Counsel to the applicant Grasshopper Group LLC. Joining me today on the phone as well are Michael Donahue, who is Grasshopper's lead outside nationwide counsel, MP Kang, Deputy General Counsel of the parent company GoTo, as well as Jay Markey, Senior Vice President of Finance for GoTo. We appreciate, first of all, the staff's work on the application, as well as the staff and commissioners' coordination with putting this matter on today's agenda. Today, we are here because Grasshopper is seeking a certificate of authority for inter-exchange service. Through the application and the discovery process in connection therewith, we believe that Grasshopper has demonstrated to staff that Grasshopper has met the managerial, technical, financial, and other requirements in connection with the request and the relief that it seeks. And specifically, Grasshopper's the product or service that Grasshopper is providing is not an independent dial tone type typical service. Rather, it sits on top of existing wireline service. And so that was part of what took some time for Grasshopper, its representatives, and the staff to work through to really understand, what exactly is the nature of the service that Grasshopper's providing within the state, given that it doesn't necessarily fit neatly within any regulatory category. And so through I believe it was 3 sets of requests for information and the answers, including certain information that I believe the commissioners have been provided with, but is otherwise treated as confidential for purposes of protecting it from broader public dissemination. I believe that Grasshopper has been able to adequately address the questions and concerns raised by the staff. So with that, we're pleased to be here today. Again, appreciate the commissioners and the staff's time and hard work on this, and would welcome any questions for any of the folks that we have available today. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jenny first for staff. Grasshopper has answered all of my data requests as well as met with us to discuss this docket. Due to Grasshopper's practice of requiring advance payments for international calling, staff would request that the Commission grant Grasshopper's application for a certificate of authority for inter-exchange services in South Dakota with the inclusion of a continuous $25,000 performance bond pursuant to ARSD 2010-24 4.05 in order to protect South Dakota customers. Thank you.
Questions? I do. And it relates to Grasshopper's response to data request 1-5 sub C, and that answer was filed confidentially. I'm going to read the question. The question certainly isn't confidential, and the question is, why does the applicant feel that they need to expand into South Dakota when they haven't proven profitable in their existence in other states? And Grasshopper, you provided a confidential answer to that. I'll tell you, you didn't make the case with me in your answer. When we've dealt with other new companies that have had financial statements that were less than stellar, I think this one probably sits at the top of that stack. Can you convince us that this is actually going to be a going concern as opposed to a flash in the pan?
Thank you, Commissioner. And generally speaking, the financial statements are prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So as a result, there are certain non-cash items that would appear in a typical financial statement. And so the difference in many respects, where some of the concerns are perhaps arising from are for non-cash items, which would be different than the company's, actual cash position and liquidity. But I would offer two things in an effort to further address the question. Number one would be, I would welcome any comments from Mr. Markey to the extent he is comfortable sharing them publicly. Alternatively, if there is additional, more detailed information and dialogue that the commission would like to receive from Grasshopper, to the extent it is in line with the information that's been provided confidentially, we would request the opportunity to provide that information confidentially and carry this agenda item to a future meeting if necessary. And with that, I would invite Mr. Markey or if Ms. Kang would like to speak on that question.
Yeah, and let me just interject. And I appreciate your initial response. And anything that they feel comfortable sharing publicly, they can certainly do that now. And if they want us to go into confidential session right now to give us further information, we can do that also. Up to them.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate the accommodation. And so with that, I would defer to Mr. Markey.
I can give an initial response. Hello, this is John Markey, and in one of our responses, the financial statements or the consolidated financial statements does include, as Lisa mentioned, non-cash charges related to amortization of intangibles and things like that, but also includes interest and a cost related to debt that the company has, which we are a private company, and a typical private company structure includes when a company goes private, which we went private 5 years ago from being a public company for many years. That structure typically includes debt by the private equity buyers. And so in the financial statements, you do see the cost of debt carry costs that are there. But then in one of our responses, it's confidential, the redacted information, but you have access to, we tried to split down that the company on an operating basis is profitable and generates enough cash to service the debt that it does have. So when you do look at the financials alone, they do include carrying that debt, which is a typical structure for a private equity type company.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I think that's probably all that I need for now. Additional questions from commissioners? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, in TC 26001, I move the commission grant Grasshopper's request of a certificate of authority to provide inter-exchange telecommunication services in South Dakota with staff's request of a $25,000 ongoing bond.
Discussion on the motion.
So when I looked at this, I also had questions about private equity, and I was visiting with my advisor because you don't always see financial statements like this. And so I believe the staff have worked really hard on trying to protect our consumers. And that's why I became comfortable with it. Thank you.
Additional discussion. I'll say just a couple of things. First of all, the name Grasshopper, as we speak, grasshoppers are eating my hay crop alive. And so I'm not cool on the name, but it is what it is. On the financial issue, Mr. Markey talked about, significant amounts of interest payment on debt as being a part of this. Well, yeah, interest can kill businesses. I mean, I've seen it happen. But they apparently are confident that they can make that work. And I think all of that discussion highlights the importance of staff's recommendation that for these prepayments that we have a bond in case anything does go awry. And so I appreciate that being part of the motion. And with that, we'll support this because I believe they, at this point, are legally entitled to this certificate. Additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Yes.
Mr. Commissioner, Lisa Peters again on behalf of Grasshopper, and we did just want to provide a relatively real-time update. We have confirmed that the bond paperwork is complete and the bond is ready to be posted should the commission approve the application.
Okay,
Thank
yeah,
you.
appreciate that. With that, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson.
Aye.
Commissioner Fegan.
Fegan votes aye.
Nelson votes aye. Motion carries. And Ms. First, you can work with the company on making sure that bond documentation is taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Yep, thank you. That brings us to TC 26-007 in the matter of the request of the City of Brookings Municipal Telephone for certification regarding its use of Federal Universal Service support. And the question is, shall the Commission provide a certification to the Federal Communication Commission and to the Universal Service Administration Company regarding the use of Federal Universal Service support, or how shall the Commission proceed? I gotta say, I don't know if I ever recall doing one of these in June. So great kudos to Brookings and Ms. First for moving this along very, very quickly. We will go to Brookings.
Good morning, Mr. Commissioner. This is Ryan Taylor with Cutler Law Firm, appearing on behalf of Brookings Municipal Utilities. Brookings Municipal Utilities is requesting that the Commission designate it as an eligible communications carrier and also eligible to receive USF support in the upcoming year. Brookings Municipal has filed its certification and responded to the data request from staff. Mr. Meyer and his staff are available for questions along with me. If there are any from the Commissioner staff, if there are none, Brookings Municipal will rely upon the petition and its data requests on file in this docket.
Thank you, Ryan. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jenny First for staff. I have reviewed this docket and the company has answered all of my data requests. I would request that the Commission provide certification to the FCC and USAC regarding their use of Federal Universal Service report or support. Thank you.
Questions? Commissioner Fegan.
I do. I visited with our 50-year employee yesterday about some questions I had about confidentiality. And if you ever talk to our 50-year employee, his favorite things is cross-examination and testifying. So I'm going to give the floor to Greg Reslov for questions. I'm glad it's Ryan Taylor. So cross-examination, you have my question. Well, I asked you a lot of questions.
Yes, this is Greg. Unfortunately, my computer isn't working well. I am trying to get back on the system. It won't let me do it. It won't shut down. And so I don't know what I'm going to say at this point, because when you've been here 50 years and you're 72 years old, your memory just starts sliding away, and your ability to make up half-truths is just gone at that point.
Confidentiality.
Pardon?
We were going to talk about confidentiality.
Oh, confidentiality.
And how they're filed.
Well, I have no idea where you want me to go on confidentiality. I guess you can say that it's best to keep your mouth shut if you shouldn't be talking. And I think I'm at that point right now. So my answer, I would suggest, is confidential, and I don't think it should be broadcast over the state. And that's the best answer I can give you. I'm sorry about that.
Okay. Okay.
I do have questions.
Yeah, let's let Commissioner Fegan.
So actually, we had a conversation yesterday about confidentiality filings of dockets like this, that actually some of the information is already on a federal website. So wanted to figure out why this can't be more transparent, why it can't be redacted on the confidentiality issues that your team has. Okay, you ready to go, Greg?
Yes, I'm ready to go. If you would have alluded to the subject, I probably would have remembered, but, you know, things disappear over time. We used to get these filings and nothing was ever marked confidential, but several years ago, and I can go into my reasons why everyone is filing it confidential at this point. I would suggest perhaps people preparing this have, added suspenders to the belt they already wore on this whole topic. And I still remember when US West filed its financial report that it delivers to stockholders, anybody else who cares to have it, they filed that as completely confidential. And I'm thinking maybe that's happening with our smaller telecoms these days. So I guess I would like an answer to why everything that used to be known to the public and is apparently available otherwise is now marked confidential. And I don't know who's going to answer that question. Yeah, that would be okay. And actually, there's an attorney sitting back there. He used to work for the PUC. I could call on her as well. So.
Yeah, anybody
think
from Brookings that would like to answer that?
Yes, Mr. Commissioner, this is Ryan Taylor. I think the reason that more and more information is now being treated as confidential in these filings is just due to the heightened nature of competition. It's not a monopoly anymore like it once was when there were firm certificated service territories and everyone stayed in their own lane. There is now heightened competition from all quadrants, and there is just a greater consciousness of keeping that information as confidential as possible. Also, with the rise of the internet, it's much easier to obtain this information. When it used to be filed and it wasn't generally easily available, there was less concern about having this information out publicly. And so it's just a natural evolution of these companies in response to changing circumstances and changing technology.
I anticipated that answer, but there are a number of items that have been declared to be confidential, and there's been no explanation following those individual items why they have to be made confidential. And I understand your answer. It's a general answer, but that wouldn't suffice, I guess, in my world at this point. I think we need more specificity with regard to it, but this is my last meeting, so I'm going to be a little bit nasty. But that's just my personal feeling that we've just decided to mark everything confidential about like US West did about 30 years ago. But I apologize if that's all wrong, but I think there's a point to be made on that hasn't been made yet.
Additional discussion. So, Mr. Islov, did I understand you to say that you found some information in this confidential filing that is publicly available elsewhere? Is that correct?
I have not researched it, but fortunately, the commissioner sitting to my right has, and I would ask her to take the witness stand at some point on that point.
Oh. Okay, further questions? I've got one, and if this is something that is confidential and you don't want to talk about publicly, I get that, and we'll let it go. I've observed comparing your broadband subscribers from year to year that there's been some significant change there. Is that a trend that you can explain to us publicly or not?
I would defer to Mr. Meyer on that if he is willing and able to answer that question in the public hearing.
I guess, yeah, this is Steve Meyer. I'm not exactly sure what change you're referring to, Commissioner.
Well, and without going into a confidential session, I probably can't get there. So maybe we'll just, it's not crucial for my vote today, so I think we'll probably just let that go. Additional questions? Motions? In TC 26-007, I move that the Commission provide a certification to the Federal Communications Commission and to the Universal Service Administration Company regarding the use of federal Universal Service Support. Discussion on the motion. Despite all the discussion that we have had, it is clear that Brookings is entitled to this particular certification for this year. Additional discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson.
Aye.
Commissioner Fegan.
Fegan votes aye.
Nelson votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to EL 24-027 in the matter of the petition by Leola Data Center LLC to have Montana Dakota Utilities, a subsidiary of NDU Resources, assigned as its electric provider in the service area of FEM Electric Association. Question is, shall the commission grant the motion for summary judgment? Before I go any further, I'm just going to check. Danny Brown, have you joined us? Okay, not hearing Danny, and that's fine, I think. So does anybody want to bring us up to speed on where we're at with this? Mr. Schaefbauer?
Yes, I could. Once again, this is Logan Schaefbauer for staff. This docket's been going on for a while. It's a contested issue with interveners. The parties are actively trying to reach a settlement in this matter. I don't want to get into the details too much, but I've been in contact with everybody. We would like those settlement efforts to continue. I filed a letter last week telling the commission that the parties would like this summary judgment hearing to be continued, and the commission issued an order canceling this hearing. So from staff's perspective, no further action on this matter is required. Thank you.
Today.
Today, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Moore, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, thank you. I agree with Mr. Schaefbauer's comments.
Okay, with that, we will defer any further action on this for today. That then brings us to EL 25-039 in the matter of the filing by Montana Dakota Utilities, a subsidiary of NDU Resources Group, update to its infrastructure rider rate 56 and request for waiver of fuel and purchase power adjustment rate 58. And the question is, shall the commission approve the proposed infrastructure rider rate and revised tariff sheet with an effective date of July 1st, 2026, or how shall the commission proceed? We'll go to MDU.
Good morning. I'm Chelsea Metzger, a regulatory analyst with Montana Dakota Utilities. A list of those that are also attending has been sent in, and they will introduce themselves as needed. The filing before you today is Montana Dakota's annual update to the infrastructure rider, or IR rate 56, to reflect a true-up of actual costs through September 2025 and projected costs through December 2026. This was filed out of period on October 31st, 2025, due to the purchase and in-service date of Badger 1 facility. The filing includes an annual amortization of the plant closure regulatory assets for Lewis and Clark Unit 1 and Heskett Unit 1 and 2. Included in the 2025 cost is South Dakota's portion of the cost of the Wishick rebuild and the Badger Wind projects. The Wishick rebuild project will rebuild the company's Wishick transmission substation due to age and condition and reroute existing transmission lines to the new substation. The Badger Wind project is a fully permitted and sited 250 megawatt wind project located west of Wishick, North Dakota. Badger Wind provides the company with a low-cost generation resource that will help meet the energy needs of the electric integrated system customers. The project provides price protection against future energy market price increase and natural gas price increase, greater fuel source diversity within a company's generation resource mix, and the ability to capture value from production tax credits. Included in the 2026 cost is South Dakota's portion of the Glendive Breakers and Stanley rebuild projects. The Glendive's breaker project will replace 4 existing breakers and control cable due to component failure, age, and condition. The Stanley rebuild project will rebuild the company's Stanley transmission substation due to age and condition and reroute existing transmission lines to the new Stanley substation. The revenue requirement requested in this filing is approximately $1.5 million, which results in a proposed rate of $0.01093 per kilowatt hour, an increase of $0.00832 from the rate currently in effect. A residential customer using 900 kilowatt hour per month would see an approximate increase of $7 per month or $90 annually. We appreciate the staff's review as well as the recommendation to approve the IR rate with effective date of July 1st, 2026. This concludes my comments, and the company is available for questions.
Thank you. Staff?
Thank you. This is Brittany Melhoff for staff. Staff has reviewed the filing and filed a memo in the docket. We will rely on that memo and recommend that the Commission approve the proposed infrastructure rider rate and the revised tariff sheet with an effective date of July 1st, 2026. And we are available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you to the staff. You had the opportunity to kind of work on a docket that you had to be flexible on and kind of make some changes. But I think absolutely they work, and I appreciate that. So for Mr. Colton Kennedy, so when you looked at the Badger Wind Farm and you looked at that, did you look at the North Dakota docket? And was there more transparency in their docket when they determined the Badger Wind Farm?
This is Colton Kennedy of CUK Energy Group. Happy to respond to that question. So the challenge is really not in what was filed. The finding around transparency was really around the competitive sourcing process. So in my experience for a project like this, one, I would say, the actual IRP was transparent, provided a significant amount of detail on the assumptions, and those assumptions were robust. But on the procurement side, this facility was really the only wind facility that was identified and sourced, as opposed to going through and soliciting competitive RFP proposals. And so, the company did provide justification, why there were some attributes of this facility that made it beneficial to kind of go and directly negotiate and move forward rather than doing that sort of transparent, robust, competitive sourcing process. The characteristics that they provided, one that had assigned GIA, it was load proximate, and the COD was really near term, and the facility would be available relatively soon for their system. But still, in my experience, you don't have, without a competitive RFP, without seeing solicitations proposals from other projects, you don't know if it was the best price that could have been obtained for the facility.
Okay, thank you. The other question I have is for MDU, and we just watch in the news about the Ellendale Data Center there and the project that's being built. I drove by it about a month ago, and I also drove by the Wishick substation. So how do you make sure the allocated costs, and I don't know if the Wishick substation has anything to do with helping provide a more robust system for Ellendale, but that if that is the case, or anything that you do, that those costs are being directly assigned to the data center?
Commissioner Fegan, this is Darcy Nigam with MDU. So regarding the cost or the need for the Wishick substation additions, that had nothing to do with the need or service at the data center. The one thing I would say is the costs for the Wishick substation, are included in our MISO attachment O. And so the data center is paying their share of costs associated with that facility, just like any other facility that's out there.
So what you're telling me is you're doing your due diligence to make sure other customers are not paying for the cost of bringing electricity to that data center.
Correct.
Thank
So we've taken precautions to ensure that other customers are not responsible for the cost for the connection of the Ellendale data center. You know, they are paying for all those costs themselves for that project and funding those separately. And then there also are the protections as well that we have that that data center is also paying the applicable transmission rate for all MDU's facilities to take transmission service, which
Thank you.
goes through the rider.
Additional questions, and I want to kind of follow down this same trail that Commissioner Fegan started on. You know, we've, over the years, seen a lot of these infrastructure filings, infrastructure rider filings, and we kind of understand how to look at them. But Commissioner Fegan's point about the fact that, you know, MDU is now serving large data centers, I think really changes how we need to look at these. And maybe you can tell me that we don't need to change how we look at these. That's the discussion that I want to have. And in particular, relating to the Badger wind farm. So obviously, MDU is providing a significant amount of energy to the Ellendale data center and others. And from my understanding of the filing, that a significant amount of that is being purchased on the market. And so with the addition of the Badger Wind Project, that energy is no longer being purchased on the market, but is now self-generated, and essentially will go to supply the data centers 100%. And so my question is, why should not the data centers be paying for the entirety of the Badger Wind Project, since they are really the sole beneficiary of that?
So Commissioner Nelson, this is Darcy Nigam again with MDU. So the resource addition for Badger Wind, you know, the benefit of that is solely for our other integrated system customers, is the reason we have that facility that we entered into the agreement to purchase and the associated power purchase agreement. You know, those our other customers other than the data center are the ones who benefit and those costs are allocated to. There is no direct allocation or benefit that the data center would have for the energy that's produced from that project. You know, the data center itself is the energy for that. We are just sourcing from the open market, just like any other load that would be on our neighboring, one of our neighbors' systems. So as far as the standpoint, those costs, that the data center incurs are really for the purchase of that energy, and there really is no energy arbitrage or anything else with associated benefit they would have as far as the energy price that we receive from the data center or the wind project putting that energy into the system in that area. And so we've taken those precautions to ensure that there are no benefits that are going to the data center from that project, and that we're basically trying to isolate that project and its cost, from our other customers.
And thank you, Darcy.
Okay.
I appreciate that. So am I understanding that 100% of the energy going to the data center is purchased on the market?
Today, that is what we're doing at Ellendale.
And, okay, you said today. Is that part of your electric service agreement, that it will always be that way? Will it be different tomorrow? Help me understand the nuance of that answer.
Sure. So that is the arrangement in the electric service agreement today. There certainly would be other provisions that we could have that if that project, the data center, wanted us to go out and enter into separate agreements, whatever that would be, we could do that and pass those agreements on separately to them. So that would be purchased from another third party, or at least somebody else who maybe have some other sort of bundled service that they would be able to offer to that customer. But that would be completely separate from our generation portfolio.
Okay.
And Commissioner Nelson.
Yeah, go ahead.
Travis Giggleton. Just wanted to add, so we worked with staff a little bit on our fuel and purchase power adjustment that we file monthly. And, just to kind of expand on what Darcy had pointed out, in those monthly filings, we exclude all of the energy. And even if we go to another arrangement, all of that will be excluded from that monthly energy capacity that gets passed through the fuel and purchase power adjustment on a monthly basis.
Very good. And this next question is probably not directly related to this docket, but kind of related to the discussion. As the data center has entered into the market and obviously become, I would guess, a major market player in southeastern North Dakota, have you been able to analyze what that has done to LMP prices with this new large demand?
So we have conducted, prior to entering into the electric service agreements, and it's part of the docket in North Dakota that we had for the approval of those electric service agreements, some market energy studies that we had conducted to take a look at what's the impact of pricing, not only in the Ellendale area, but across MDU's customer footprint, to see what sort of potential impact we could have from that additional load being in that area. You know, the one thing for consideration is that area around Ellendale historically has been very transmission constrained, and there's a lot of energy different than other parts of the footprint that cannot get out to the broader system. So the inclusion of load in that area, like a large data center, allows a sink for that energy that otherwise wouldn't get to market. And so it has kind of a different impact maybe than other parts of the footprint, where you would be having energy that needs to come into that area a significant portion of the time. You're just consuming energy in that area that otherwise couldn't get out. And so some of that is helping to alleviate a lot of that congestion, especially negative congestion that historically has been in that area.
Yeah, and I appreciate it and I get that. And so the study that you did in advance of the electric service agreement, what did that project or show so far as anticipated impacts on LMP prices?
So I think the impacts on LMPs, and this would be to MDU's entire load, you know, was probably in that neighborhood of in $1 to $2 per megawatt hour that it would end up having. Which, when we take a look at the corresponding benefits that come back in the neighborhood of associated transmission revenues, those benefits on the transmission revenues would exceed, you know, at least any potential cost impacts that we would show from that market study.
Gotcha. I'm following all of that. And so would it also then be true that the way that you are now, that you are going to use the Badger Wind project for your other customers, there would be probably additional benefit there because of that upward pressure on LMPs from the data center? Is that accurate?
That would be correct. Yes, that would be correct, Commissioner Nelson, that they would receive a higher revenues associated with sales of energy when it produces.
Thank you. I appreciate that discussion, and we'll have many more of these discussions as we seek to understand these interactions and become assured ourselves that the data centers are not having any negative impact on other customers, and that we also work to share that information with customers of both MDU and other utilities that go into the data center business. So, Brittany, hopefully you followed my varied questions. Any observations that you'd have based on my questioning, and do you concur with what you've heard from MDU?
Thank you for the questions. I think they're good questions, and they're at the top of staff's mind as well, making sure that other customers are protected from these new large loads. And again, just making sure we're understanding all those interactions. And I think we'll continue to ask those types of questions like you are as time goes on. But at this time, it appears that MDU has taken the appropriate steps to protect their other customers. And I don't really have anything else to add and would agree with what they've said today.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Additional questions? Motions.
Mr. Chairman, in EL 25-039, I move that the commission approve the proposed infrastructure rider rate and revised tariff sheet with an effective date of July 1st, 2026.
Discussion on the motion.
So first of all, to the staff, I appreciate the flexibility that you had and probably extending this docket a little longer than you wanted to, but you did what I believe what was right. And so I appreciate the extra work you did on that. Just like Commissioner Nelson said, we're going to continue to ask questions about the costs of data centers. And we want to make sure that none of those costs are being passed on to our residential customers or our industrial customers. So thank you.
Additional discussion. Yes. Any of our utilities that are doing business with data centers, we're going to have questions that are beyond what we normally would ask, and we will continue with those. I appreciate the discussion today, and while this particular rider is going to show an increase, as we heard in the discussion, there may be some corresponding decreases for the purchase power portion of the bill and perhaps on the transmission side of the bill. And so there's a lot of moving pieces here, but I think for what we are evaluating today, we've gotten the answers that we need and are comfortable with those. Additional discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson.
Aye.
Commissioner Fegan.
Fegan votes aye.
Nelson votes aye. Motion carries. Brings us to EL 26-003 in the matter of the application of Black Hills Power, doing business as Black Hills Energy, for authority to increase rates for its utility service in South Dakota. We've got two questions. First, shall the commission grant Mr. McKee's motion to adopt a protective order? And secondly, shall the commission grant staff's motion to amend the procedural schedule, or how shall the commission proceed? I want to go with the second one first. Let's just get that out of the way, Mr. Schaefbauer. Or who's got that? Ms. Reese.
Thank you, Chair Nelson. This is Amanda Reese for staff. Staff filed this motion to amend the procedural schedule after we became aware that there was a conflict on the hearing date that staff had initially included in its motion for a procedural schedule. Today, staff just requests that the commission approve the amendment as requested in our motion and is here for further questions by the commission.
Thank you. Any input from Mr. Moore?
We support the motion and have no issues with the proposed schedule, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McKee?
I have no conflict with the motion. I would like to point out that this is one of those oddities that's going to come up in the next discussion, that even with a fully staffed Public Utilities Commission, minor mistakes can happen. And I'm out here all by my lonesome, so I'm going to probably be making more mistakes than they do. But I have no objection.
And thank you. I appreciate that. And Black Hills?
Black Hills Power supports the motion, and we are ready to go forward under the new rules, under the new dates, I mean.
Thank you. Questions or motions?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the commission grant staff's motion for approval of a procedural schedule.
Discussion on the motion.
Excuse me? Amended schedule. Thank you, Council.
Discussion on the motion.
Doesn't appear to be any conflict or consternation.
Okay, that's good to start that way. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson.
Aye.
Commissioner Fegan.
Fegan votes aye.
Nelson votes aye. Motion carries. That brings us to our next question on granting Mr. McKee's motion to adopt a protective order, and we'll go to Mr. McKee.
Chairman and Commissioners, thank you. My motion to adopt a protective order is straightforward and consistent with the Commission's established practice in rate cases. Black Hills Power has already designated portions of its filing, including Statement K and related tax work papers, as well as others, as confidential. For an intervener such as myself to participate meaningfully in discovery, there must be a clear Commission-issued protective order governing access, use, and handling of that material. The protective order I submitted mirrors the structure and content of prior protective orders this commission has approved in other rate cases. It includes all required elements, designation procedures, challenge procedures, permitted use, filing under seal, and return or destruction of confidential material. I would like to briefly reference Black Hill Power's June 21st email to me. In that message, Black Hills Power stated, "If you prefer to wait for the commission to act on your motion, we will respect that decision." This was after they tried again 22 hours after I filed my motion for protection order to put another confidentiality agreement in front of me, the last of 3. That acknowledgement is important. It confirms that the motion is properly before the commission and that the commission has full authority to adopt a protective order, and that no private agreement is required for discovery to proceed. Black Hills Power also acknowledged that my proposed order already prohibits dissemination of confidential information through AI systems. Their remaining concerns relate not to ARSD compliance, but to their preference for a blanket prohibition on all AI tools, even secure, non-public analytical tools that function no differently than things like OCR, indexing, or search utilities. The only clarification I added is an explicit allowance for modern analytical tools, including AI-assisted drafting or review. I added that because, unlike everybody else here in this hearing, I'm by myself. I feel like I'm the only one representing the general public out here. The state has its staff, Black Hills Energy has its staff, SDLGC has their lawyers and staff. I'm all alone. I have to have these tools in order to participate meaningfully, respectfully, and honestly, and transparently. I provided in the confidential information order is not disclosed outside a protected environment. This does not expand access. It simply ensures that using contemporary tools is not inadvertently prohibited, and it aligns with how other jurisdictions are modernizing their protective orders. People working long shifts don't get to participate in these discussions. Parents managing households don't have the time to do this. I'm trying to do this because we are tired of the appearance of the rubber stamping of government by the large corporations. And I am not in any way implying that that's what this commission would do. I have seen the hard work that Amanda and your staff have put in on this, the data request. I've also seen some of the answers from Black Hills Energy that have been quite vague. Go to this table, this spreadsheet, this whatever. I can't do all of that by myself. So I'm going to need the analytical tools to have it help me correlate and analyze these filings and these data requests and these discoveries. Black Hills' June 16th letter did not identify any legal defect in the proposed order. Their concerns were general in nature, and my June 17th reply addressed each point as demonstrated that the proposed order is fully compliant with SDCL 49-34A and ARSD 20:10:01. Staff has not objected to the protective order, and staff's own discovery processes rely on their clear confidentiality framework. Adopting the order today will streamline the remainder of the schedule and ensure all parties, including myself, operate under the same rules. For these reasons, I respectfully request that the commission grant my motion to adopt the protective order. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKee. We will go to Black Hills.
Thank you, Commissioner, and Douglas Law, Associate General Counsel on behalf of Black Hills Power. And in response to Mr. McKee's proposed protective order, the concern isn't that the commission has authority over protective orders or confidentiality. We can agree and concede that readily. I think the issue that we had with Mr. McKee's proposed protective order is that if I was in a law firm still and a first-year associate came in to me with a form that Mr. McKee has proposed, I would say that's a great outline, but where's the beat? There's no substantive direction in case there's a dispute. It consists primarily of bullet points. Well, it may have a lot of the elements that the commission would want in a protective order. It lacks, in many respects, any sort of direction, if there is a disagreement or how it should proceed. As we laid out in our response to Mr. McKee's motion, Black Hills has several different concerns with it. I mean, sure, we talk about there needs to be a little more information that lends itself to being overly broad, a little bit vague as to how it would operate, what some of the definitions might be. They general references to the commission's confidentiality rules, we don't believe are necessarily adequate in a proceeding of this magnitude. It might work in normal processes where you have a single docket with maybe a limited time and limited scope. But here you're talking about multiple classes of documents that we've already provided, including tax and accounting records, rating agency analyst reports, contracts, invoices, payroll, compensation, operational materials. So, I think when we walk through his agreement, it's not that you couldn't sit there and say, oh, I understand what those things are, but in our opinion, it lacks a lot of the direction that you normally find in agreements. We weren't saying also that you have to have a customer enter into a confidentiality agreement if the commission is going to issue a protective order of its own. But my understanding of the way South Dakota practice has been, if you're using the petition process for single dockets, but when you get into these larger scope dockets, I think the practice that I'm aware of that's been explained is you try to go get agreements between the parties and you handle that information through that one. And that's the process that we did. We first offered Mr. McKee a standard agreement way back in April. He rejected it. He proposed some responses. We didn't like his responses. I think the central issue of our concern here with regard to Mr. McKee's protective order relates around to the use of confidential information in an AI system. And we're talking about an open AI system. He has not yet, to me, at least to my knowledge, said exactly what AI system he wants to use. Certainly his proposed protective order says that they can use any analytical tool or system, including but not limited to text analysis, document management, search tools. And he does put in there, provided that such tools do not disseminate, publish, or make confidential information public accessible. But what seems to be lacking is, where is there any sort of acknowledgement of verification of how those systems are handling the data? Is it an open AI system or is it an enclosed enterprise system like Black Hills has? And is there a restriction on third-party exposure? What is the remedy process if there's information that's confidential that is disclosed? And so our concern is that the harm can't be undone. And if you've got one residential customer representing himself, that's just one of thousands that could come into a proceeding. And there has to be, I think, some sort of control other than one statement and a few bullet points related to the use of confidential information in an open AI system that could then expose that to the public. So I think overall, our comments were related to stating that we're indifferent as whether the commission issues a protective order or we can come to an agreement. We tried 3 times with Mr. McKee, and the first time we offered it, he rejected it. And then our understanding was, well, he wanted something that was equivalent to what the other interveners got. So we then turned our attention to the large customer group and started negotiating with them into a confidential agreement. We reached that agreement, presented that agreement to Mr. McKee, but that was at the same time he had filed his motion to the commission. And then just prior to this hearing, in order to, like we would with any intervener, to try to attempt to reduce or resolve any outstanding issues to see whether there was further compromise that we could make or he could make, he said he wanted to wait for the commission and have the commission issue protective order. So that's what the statement of, we understand in his position. If he didn't want to further negotiate, if he wants the commission to rule on it, we respect that like we would any other intervener. So I think from the way Black Hills Power sees it, we would request that you deny the motion and you either adopt a confidentiality framework that is a protective order that in line with the terms and conditions that we have, but specifically that whatever you address, that you have some, I guess, guidance for around the use of AI, what kind of verification that AI system is, that it can't be used in an open AI system, and that there's some form of remedy in the event that there's a violation of that one. So with that, I stand ready to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you, Mr. Law. We'll go to the large customer group.
Thank you, Commissioner Nelson. James Moore. We really don't have a position on this motion. As Black Hills has indicated, we agreed to the terms of a confidentiality agreement with Black Hills and therefore don't take a position whether Mr. McKee's proposed protective order needs to be issued in this case. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Amanda Reese for staff. Staff has reviewed Mr. McKee's motion as well as the response and the reply. And as Mr. Law indicated, I think the real issue in this motion is the use of AI. I think, the commission has seen a multitude of different ways of handling confidential information, including a stipulation for a protective order, non-disclosure agreements, and the commission has issued a protective order in previous dockets. HP 22002 was a fairly substantive protective order and provides a good foundation. However, admittedly, that protective order did not include the artificial intelligence. I would say with the way technology is moving, the commission staff has had conversations regarding use of AI technology. The state has put in place protections and restrictions on use of AI tools and certain guidance, and I think it is appropriate for the commission to include AI technology in any protective order that they would issue at this point. And staff is available to discuss possible resolutions with the parties if they want to move forward with that, or is available for questions if the commission has any today.
Thank you. Mr. McKee, we'll come back to you for any brief rebuttal.
I think I just heard Black Hills Energy ask for a rubber stamp to their confidentiality agreement. And if I'm mistaken, please correct me, but they don't want my order the way it's written. They would prefer theirs. They are the company that is coming to elected officials that we, the people, elected, you, your fellow commissioners. We depend on you to protect us. Now, Black Hills Energy had an attorney, name of Adam Berman, send me a confidentiality agreement back, I believe it was on April 22nd of this year. Mr. Berman hadn't even been admitted to this commission yet or by the courts of this state. He's an out-of-state attorney, but he's wanting to try to cobble together a confidentiality agreement that binds my hands. Then they send me the one that they say they cobbled together for Black Hills or for the South Dakota Large Consumer Group. But according to their own filing, that was done on April 22nd. But SDLGC didn't even exist yet. So I'm concerned that they are, I think it needs to be done by the commission. It is not something that needs to be cobbled together by Black Hills Power, Black Hills Energy, or their lawyers. This is something that we, the people, need the commission to authorize, the access, the tools available. And like I said, I don't have a large staff. I'm me. I need these tools, or I'm basically shut out of the process. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Questions from the commission? I'll maybe start. And I'm going to go to Ms. Reese, and in my questions, I'm probably going to tip my hand pretty significantly as to where I'm coming down here. I understand Black Hill's concern about the AI tools. And I fully understand and I support, their insistence that confidential information not be sent out into the cloud to who knows who and who knows where, to be retained by who knows who and who knows where, and then ultimately be used in whatever format. And so I'm sensitive to that. I think whatever we come up with here has to protect their confidential information, just like we always have for decades here. But I also understand Mr. McKee's right to have access to that data. Now, does he have a right to use AI tools? That's a new question. And he obviously thinks he does. I think he probably has a right to use an AI tool that is designed to keep information in-house, as Black Hills has talked about. I'm not sure he's got a right to use anything beyond that. Long question for you, Ms. Reese. What's the way forward here? I mean, we don't have a counter motion from Black Hills. So what's the way forward here to accomplish what needs to be accomplished so Mr. McKee can get at some data and start working?
I think in lieu of, if the commission's not comfortable approving either of the protective orders put in front of the commission, I would suggest the commission give direction to the parties to come to an agreement regarding specific language, potentially looking towards what was approved in the pipeline docket I referenced, and give specific direction regarding whether AI tools are acceptable uses. And we can staff could take the lead and work to craft some language that we've used as a part of the state with AI tools and put that in place. And once the parties can agree to a language, then once it's signed by the parties, if they can agree to language, then the information can be put forward. And if in the next week we cannot come to a specific agreement, bring a proposal back before the commission as to a protective order the commission can include in an order.
Okay, and understanding, we don't have a motion from Black Hills to adopt their version, and so I'm not sure we can even do that, at least at this point. Or your thoughts on that? You think we can?
Yeah, I think the commission, it's been filed, it's before the commission. All parties have had a chance to respond to that, and it was submitted as a reply to what Mr. McKee filed. So I think the commission could approve it sua sponte today if you so desire, in addition to any revisions you may have as well.
Okay, thank you. So then my question for Mr. McKee, can you give me in 60 seconds your key objection to the language that Black Hills has offered?
The use of AI tools. They want to strictly prohibit it. I can't do that. And if you'll give me an additional 60 seconds, please.
You've got it.
You got to understand that Black Hills Energy, most, if not all of their information is already in some cloud or another. That's how utilities work nowadays. And 87% of utilities have been breached in the United States. I'm one guy out here. Who in the world is going to know if I was using AI tools for this matter or not? They are trying to hide. They are trying to keep me from analyzing the data that they send me. They are trying to keep me from effectively being an intervener with their NDA by prohibiting AI, whether I have it locally on this computer I'm using now or whether I use an enterprise that's closed in another setting, or whether I use something like Copilot or Gronk or whatever. There's never been a case where AI has leaked any kind of data from a single user out into the general public that I am aware of. Now, if Black Hills Energy can cite one or more, I'd be more than willing to hear that. But they're more at risk of being penetrated by a bad actor than I am. Thank you.
Thank you. And so then my question for Mr. Law, the agreement that you have pro-offered, does it prohibit the use of AI, or does it prohibit the use of AI that is not an entirely closed system?
It does not prohibit AI. In fact, Mr. McKee can use our non-confidential information in any AI system he prefers. Our concern is the use of AI or confidential information in an artificial intelligence system that is not closed. The way I understand it is if you go out to a public version of Copilot or you name, there's a list of them, Claude, Gemini, I mean, whatever, ChatGPT, that information then gets pooled with public data and then becomes essentially what was confidential no longer. In order to preserve the confidentiality, you have to have this enclosed, secure enterprise system like Black Hills does, where it's walled off. Our data, confidential data, does not go out into the general public. It's not pooled with others' data, and so it can remain secure.
Okay, Mr. Law, let me
could demonstrate that to us.
Let me interrupt. I did not ask my question properly. Okay. Let me be very clear. For you, does the pro-offered agreement prohibit the use of AI entirely for your confidential information, or only prohibit it if it is not if the AI system is not one of these closed systems you've just talked about?
It says strictly prohibited. Understand the input, submitting disclosure of confidential information is strictly prohibited by the use of that. But I think we would make an exception to if he could demonstrate that it truly was an enclosed, enclosed system.
Yep, gotcha. Okay, I'm understanding. Further questions?
Yes. I would like to ask
Mr. McKee, we are into commissioner questions at this point.
Oh.
Further questions from commissioners? Motions? Commissioner Hansen.
We make motions and we make remarks, but I'm intrigued by Ms. Reese's statement of attempting to. Well, I'll make the motion, but then I'll probably end up asking for opportunity for folks to make some additional discussions, pending what I hear from you folks. I will move that and I have moved my cursors. I'll move that the Commission issue a protective order and adopt the confidentiality agreement proposed by Black Hills Power as an attachment A to Black Hills Power's June 16 filing. Comments?
If I could just interject, and you simultaneously then deny Mr. McKee's motion, correct?
Yes, this would be supplanting that.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. McKee did present a straightforward, as he stated, articulate message to us, and I empathize with his singularity, his individual challenge that he is faced with. Obviously, it's an emotional and a little bit of a hill or a mountain to climb. I would say that he can take consolation in the fact that we have one of the finest PUC staffs that exist. They are independent of, and they are isolated from the commissioners. They do their own work. We do not in any way influence them other than what we may say during a commission meeting. We don't work with them. They work on their own and come up with, and he has the opportunity to chat with them on a basis to an extent. However, as he stated that this is consistent with previous confidentiality orders, it is consistent in some respects. However, it does set a dangerous precedent, a precedent that would permit any party to participate with confidential information and use AI, and I guess I'm more comfortable with using Copilot than any of the others that he listed. However, as Mr. Law stated, the harm cannot be undone once that information is out there, and regardless of whether Mr. McKee believes that he is not aware of any leak or sort of this information being allowed to escape. The fact is that AI is built, all of them are to an extent built upon information that is out there in the world right now. So that there isn't a factor where it is producing all of the information all itself. It's out there reading, gluttonously bringing in all of this information. That's why it's an AI. So I think it sets a definite situation where the consumers, all of the consumers, can be damaged. And if we are here not rubber stamping because we only have these two opportunities. One is to adopt Black Hills Power or Mr. McKee's. One is therefore one to protect the citizens from confidential information getting out, or to adopt Mr. McKee's, which is a dangerous precedent which can damage consumers. And that's the challenge that we truly have here. It's not rubber stamping. It's if Mr. McKee is so concerned about protecting the consumer, he should be concerned about the fact that information that leaks, that damages utilities, information of a precedent here that we would be setting, is allowing this in future cases to continue to provide to whatever party comes in and says, hey, I'm working by myself, I need to be able to do this. And then what happens when that is breached? It hurts the consumer. It injures the consumer, and that is whom we are supposed to be protecting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Additional discussion. If I could ask a follow-up question, Commissioner Hanson, and that last line of questioning that I had with Mr. Law, he admitted that the agreement that they have pro-offered does not make an allowance for using AI to evaluate confidential information even if that AI system is a closed system, such as what Black Hills uses. Would you consider a friendly amendment to your motion to allow Black Hills to update the information in that agreement to allow Mr. McKee to use a closed system for his evaluation?
The answer is yes, and that's why I preceded my remarks by stating, depending upon what you folks, two of you folks, come up with during this process, or frankly, I am comfortable of even setting aside my motion and allowing the two of them to work together to see if they can come up with a. So, yeah, the answer to your question is yes.
Thank you. Additional discussion, Commissioner Fegan.
So the discussion has been interesting, and I'll never forget when I first started using AI in August of 25 because Commissioner Nelson pushed me to start using it. So I certainly understand the public's frustration because can I tell you, Mr. McKee, that the three commissioners we would love to put the confidential stuff up on AI, but I personally cannot do that because I can't make sure that it's protected. And so the three commissioners do not have a lot of staff. And so when we study rate cases, we have 2 staff people that we can talk to, but we have given them so many other responsibilities at the commission. Those 2 staff people are advisors, that the commissioners have to study the rate cases. And so I'm a lot like you, that I would love to put up the confidential information, but I can't, because by the law, state law, I need to protect confidentiality. So today I'm going to support the motion of Commissioner Hanson as presented. And until I can become comfortable with the closed loop, because I don't even use a closed loop yet, type of AI. So I just have to make sure I'm comfortable with that it's monitored, that we put all those mechanisms in place to protect the confidentiality, because in a very quick click on my computer, I have made hundreds and hundreds of mistakes. And so I want to make sure that we monitor that confidential information properly, and we don't get in a hurry to add some type of an amendment today until it's well vetted.
Well, I will move to amend Commissioner Hanson's motion to add a directive to Black Hills that they craft language to allow for the use of the same type of AI system that they themselves use in this protective order. Discussion on the motion. I hear what Commissioner Fegan has said, but I also believe that with the proper safeguards, we can't prohibit or shouldn't prohibit Joe Citizen from using those type of powerful tools. As long as the proper safeguard is in place, I think we can get there. Additional discussion on the motion.
I do have a question.
Yep, go ahead.
So will the commission, are we voting already on that agreement that they would make, or can they bring that back and that would be a vote that we could see?
Yeah, so as the way the motion was made is we are approving it, but, you know, substitute motions can happen.
Not when there's an amendment.
I don't understand substitute motion.
So just point of order, tell me, so is your amendment to amend the entire motion, so we're, okay. So I'll be opposing that today, and then I'll go back to Commissioner Hanson's motion.
Additional discussion on the motion. Commissioner Hanson.
I said yes, and then Commissioner Fegan convinced me to vote no. Again, my druthers is that we allow these folks, I know they've had 3 shots at trying to put this together, but I think that perhaps there's a confluence that's taken place as a result of this discussion that we've had, and that they can get together and figure it out. So I'm going to have to vote no on your motion.
Commissioner Fegan, do you have a substitute motion?
I move to table the amendment. No, I don't know. Don't you love that?
Okay,
No,
that
I
was
don't.
not the one I was looking for.
No, I actually don't. I'm just going to vote no and then make comments before the next vote.
All those in favor of the amendment will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson.
No.
Commissioner Fegan.
No.
Nelson votes aye. Motion fails. We're back to Commissioner Hanson's main motion. Discussion on the main motion. Commissioner Fegan.
So, Amanda and Black Hills, you heard a couple commissioners talk about possibly looking at, or they say definitely looking at, I say possible, looking at a closed loop. I just want to make sure that we're not making any mistakes. I mean, this is the first time we're really dealing with AI and confidential. I don't put up confidential, and I don't know. So I just want to make sure that's right, and we get to vote on that.
Commissioner Hanson.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to set aside my motion to the next meeting.
And we can certainly do that. I was considering maybe the substitute motion that I thought Commissioner Fegan was going to bring to direct them to come back with an agreement along the lines that we've talked about.
Either one, they both do the same thing. But I
Okay.
think it puts more emphasis on it, knowing that this is the motion, so they need to.
Okay, we have a motion to defer this motion to the next meeting. Discussion on the motion. I will be supporting it because I do want to give the sides time. I think you've heard kind of where we are at. Give all the sides time to pull something together. We need to get some accommodation for Mr. McKee. We need to protect the confidential information. Those are the boundaries, and see where we can go over the next couple of weeks. Additional discussion on the motion to defer. Seeing none. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson.
Aye.
Commissioner Fegan.
Fegan votes aye.
Nelson votes aye. It is deferred. That brings us to EL 26-004 in the matter of the application of Black Hills Power, doing business as Black Hills Energy, for approval of its 2025 Economic Development Report and 2026 Economic Development Plan. The question is, shall the commission approve Black Hills Power's 2025 Economic Development Report and 2026 Economic Development Plan? We'll go to Black Hills.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, staff. This docket before you is seeking approval of Black Hills Power's 25 Economic Development Report. It was filed as Exhibit A to the application, and approval of its 26 Economic Development Plan, and that was Exhibit B to the application. You can see by nature of reviewing the exhibits, 25, we spent right at $100,000. We were below the $150,000 that we forecasted in the budget. We anticipate that for 26 to kind of go back to that level, $150,000 that we'll spend. With me on the phone today, I do have Lynn Kendall and Eric Wolf, are the administrators of the program, and I will turn it over to Lynn to give you a little summary of the activities that they did in 25. Go ahead, Lynn.
Lynn, are you still with us? We're not hearing you, Lynn. Okay, for whatever reason, we think she's still on the line, but we're not hearing anything. Mr. Wolf, do you want to just check in and see if we can hear you?
They still on?
Okay, we're not hearing anything.
Let me ping her real quick and see if.
It's that new phone system that we just started, I bet.
Well, that's odd because we heard the prior speakers just fine.
Oh, I think they're going to try again. They just dropped off.
Yeah, she said she's on.
Lynn did anyway.
Okay, we're going to be at ease for just a moment while we try to get these folks back on and see if we can hear them.
Can we hear anybody that's on right now? Like Otter Tail or is our system having difficulties?
A lot of them have dropped off
Yeah.
because they are no longer.
Do we have anybody from Otter Tail on the line yet?
Lynn just got back up.
Okay, Lynn, can you hear us?
She just left. Oh, no, Lynn's on. That's been Eric that left. Lynn shows that she's on. And nobody from Otter Tail speaking either, so something must be wrong with the system.
Hello, Otter Tail's here.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for checking in. We're trying to get some Black Hills folks, but we appreciate hearing from you so that we know that our system is still
Hello,
working.
can you hear me?
Yes, who is this? That Lynn? Lynn, can you hear me?
Hello?
And Lynn, we are ready for your presentation if you can hear us. To get some Black Hills folks, but we appreciate hearing from you. So we know that our system is still working.
Can you hear me?
Yes, who is this?
There's must get back up. Here's the first voice that came through.
Lynn, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, but it's echoey.
Okay, well, go ahead, Lynn.
Oh, this is Otter Tail Power. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. It's the Black Hills folks, we can't. We can try, let's try that. Yeah, see if you can put it on speaker and just run it through the mic there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. So sorry about the sound issues. It sounds like we may have some tough technical difficulties we're working through.
There seems to be a couple minutes delay of what we're saying and what's coming through.
Manager for South Dakota. Online as well, and I don't think you can hear him either, is Eric Wolf, our business development manager. We have together, Eric and I work with our economic development organizations and administer our economic development program here locally. And we appreciate being able to work with the commission to support economic development that spurs growth and vibrancy. I'll just take a couple minutes to highlight some of the partnerships and the work that took place in 2025, and then recap our plan for 2026. So in 2025, we did see a reduction in applications from local economic development organizations. Many of the organizations that we work with were focused on housing-related projects and grants, and unfortunately, the Black Hills Power Economic Grant Program can't be used for capital projects like that. So from discussions that we have with our local organizations and leaders, we expect that to be different moving forward into this year. A couple of the really great projects that we are fortunate to support in 2025, on top of the regular memberships and events and the good work that our organizations do, really want to highlight a couple for you today. One in particular, Fuel the Growth event. It continues to be a staple in our grant support program and a key impact item for local economic development leaders. This event is put on in partnership with Rushmore Region Economic Development Alliance and Black Hills State University. It's a 2-day course that is IEDC accredited, the only one in the state, and it builds economic development foundations for many of our local leaders. Another one that we funded in 2025, and we've actually funded it for a long time. I think we sometimes get questions from the commission on this, but it is the Resimplified GIS planning tool. We cover the subscription for that, and it allows access to all of our local economic development organizations. It's a site selection tool that they can put on their website and effectively market their available sites and communities. This is also the same program that GOED uses, so it really streamlines listings at a state level. And then if you'll remember, in 2024, we had contracted with Quest Site Selectors to perform an audit. A lot of our communities signed up and did an audit of their marketing and how they promote their available properties. And from that audit came a couple requests in 2025. One from Rushmore Region. They updated their marketing and website to so it focuses more on regional opportunities. And then Custer Economic Development Organization also implemented some changes to update and modernize their website. So we point that out so you can see the progression of the audit and then some of the impact work that came out from that. As we launch into our 2026 program, it'll mirror the mission and goals of our previous plans in terms of supporting local communities in their economic development work by focusing on capacity building, marketing partnerships, memberships, and key impact areas around business attraction. We've been marketing the availability of these funds since the beginning of the year and have offered ideas on ways to use them, really hoping to really promote the partnership. We're proposing a similar budget in 2026 of previous years of $155.9. We continue to work hand in hand with our economic development offices to be a resource and a partner in business development and attraction, both from a utility perspective as well as offering leadership through volunteerism and service on boards. Black Hills Power appreciates the Commission's recognition of and concern regarding the lobbying and political activities. We got some questions on that and want to be responsive and partner. So in response, Black Hills Power, we have reinforced our grant requirements to ensure that no economic development funds are used for these purposes. Specifically, we've altered the economic development grant application to require each applicant to certify that the grant funds will not be used for lobbying activities or political advertising. You'll see this certification included in the application and is now a condition of funding. So we hope this enhancement further ensures that all grant dollars are used strictly for eligible economic development purposes. Supporting the programs and organizations that promote responsible growth in our service territory offers benefit to our customers in the form of increased investment to infrastructure and thriving communities. We appreciate your support of this important program. And with that, we'll stand by for any questions.
Okay, we will go to Commission staff.
Thank you. This is Brittany Melhoff for staff. Staff has reviewed the filing, and Black Hills has responded to 2 sets of data requests. And based on those responses, staff would recommend the Commission approve the 2025 Economic Development Report and the 2026 Economic Development Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Yep.
I think this is Commissioner Fagan. I think you went through most of my questions with the grant program that you have for about $60,000. Do they rotate? Like, there are some investor-owned utilities that kind of rotate community by community, or what percentage of these are consistent year after year, like you always give to the Giant Vision? And which ones are more flexible, where you're dealing with a website issue? So what percentage of your money is normally annually, you usually give it through a grant process, and what percentage of that 50,000 or 60,000 is more you use it for more flexible?
So don't quote me on the percentage. I'm going to say about 50-50. And that may fluctuate some years. Like 2024, we spent more on the Quest audit. But part of what our economic development partners really appreciate about this grant program is that there is some consistency in it. You know, we like to partner with their annual meetings, and we are a consistent member. So being able to rely on us for some of those core things that they do year after year is a valuable service to them, and part of what keeps those organizations strong. Then we do reserve, I want to say about 50%, that is in kind of, it's a grant program within our grant program where we were able to be responsive to some of those needs that come up uniquely throughout the year. So some of the marketing dollars, or if there's a training
Thank you.
that
I just wanted a percentage. I'm sorry.
needs, we can be responsive in that way. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. And I just wanted to say I'm very appreciative that you have some flexibility in there, because like those websites, perfect use of grant funding. So thank you.
Additional questions? Motions? In EL 26-004, I move that the commission approve Black Hills Power doing business as Black Hills Energy's 2025 Economic Development Report and its 2026 Economic Development Plan. Discussion on the motion. Simply want to say to Black Hills, thank you for learning from our discussion with Northwestern regarding the lobbying and political activity, and making sure that that hasn't happened, nor will it happen with any of these dollars. You handled that very well. Thank you. Additional discussion. Commissioner Fegan.
And thank you to the staff that probably called you or had a data request for you to make sure that you were well prepared today. Thank you.
Additional discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson.
Aye.
Commissioner Fegan.
Fegan votes aye.
Nelson votes aye. Motion carries. That brings us to EL 26-011 in the matter of Otter Tail Power Company's 2025 South Dakota Energy Efficiency Plan Status Report and 2026 annual filing to update the Energy Efficiency Adjustment Rider. And the question is, shall the commission approve Otter Tail's 2025 Energy Efficiency Plan Status Report, and shall the commission approve the 2025 financial incentive of $151,972, and shall the commission approve the proposal that the energy efficiency adjustment factor be increased to $0.00101 dollars per kilowatt hour for July 2026 through June 2027. Okay, so Otter Tail, I'm going to ask, can you hear us through the system?
I can hear you through Eric's cell phone.
Okay, then let's just use Eric's cell phone. We're going to do the same kind of thing there. And you've got that on the mic, so let's go that way. Otter Tail, go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Christina Zuniga. I supervise demand-side management administration here at Otter Tail Power Company. The company appreciates this opportunity to address the Commission. We appreciate staff and the Commissioners' continued support as we work together to deliver energy and bill savings to our South Dakota customers. Looking back at 2025, we spent 78% of the budget while saving 80% of our energy savings goal. Our 2025 energy efficiency activities returned a cost-effective total resource benefit cost ratio of 1.70. As recommended by staff, Otter Tail respectfully requests the Commission to approve the 2025 Energy Efficiency Plan Status Report, approve our requested 2025 financial incentive of $151,972, and approve our proposal to decrease the Energy Efficiency Adjustment Factor to $0.00101 per kWh. I'm now available for questions to the Commission or staff.
Thank you. We'll go to staff.
Thank you. This is Eric Paulson for staff. Staff has read the filing, and all the data requests are filed in the docket, and we filed our memo and stand by that and recommend the commission approve the 2025 Energy Efficiency Plan status report, the 2025 financial incentive, $151,972, and approve the proposed adjustment factor of 0.00101 kWh for July 2026 through June 2027. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Motions?
Mr. Chairman, in EL 26-011, I move that the Commission approve Otter Tail Power's Company's 2025 Energy Efficiency Plan Status Report, approve the 2025 financial incentive of $151,972, and that the Commission approve the proposal that the energy efficiency adjustment factor to be increased to 0.00101 kilowatts per hour for July 2026 through June 2024.
Discussion on the motion.
So, Eric, my fellow jackrabbit, this jackrabbit also likes to see all these data requests and learn from them. So my coyote, my advisor, the coyote, I was telling him how excited I was to read through all these data requests and to learn. For example, I learned about the 2028 federal law that is working on lighting, and I learned about the diminishing of opportunity costs for lower cost of efficiency lighting, and all those data requests helped your fellow jackrabbit. So thank you for all those. I appreciate it, and you taught me a lot.
Additional discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson.
This northern state wolf that eats jackrabbits.
Out of order. Non-germane. And a few other things.
2 jackrabbits I got to deal with. Votes yes.
Commissioner Fegan.
Fegan votes aye.
And Nelson votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Otter Tail. And then we will move to the addendum PS 25-003 in the matter of the PUC staff's complaint against Black Hills Power doing business as Black Hills Energy. The question, shall the commission approve the amended settlement stipulation and agreement, or how shall the commission proceed? And understand, you don't have anybody on the phone line for this, correct? Okay, you guys, you're it. Okay. So with that, Black Hills, go ahead.
Thanks, Commissioner. Brett Kennecke appearing for Black Hills this morning. I'd first like to comment my approval on how you're squeezing every last drop of Greg Rizlov you can get out of his career. That makes me happy, and I'm sure a number of other people as well. I would ask the commission to approve the changes to the settlement agreement, and then I'd also like to engage in a brief conversation trying to figure out how you'd like to proceed from here. As we talked about this on our side, we felt like the clarity and finality that came from the process of obtaining a permit outweighed the other considerations, and so would like to plow forward in that respect. But as I alluded in my letter, there are almost all of the process is forward-looking, and we don't have that situation here. So the question becomes how much of that becomes perhaps burdensome, perhaps superfluous, and is also perhaps of significant interest, and we wouldn't see that. So I would like to have that conversation if the commission is willing, but otherwise I certainly want you to approve the settlement agreement, and then I'll start to figure out when the time to make an application can be realistic, depending on how much information has to be gathered. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Brett. And your question is a great one. And I think maybe, if it's okay with the commissioners, we'll go through and deal with the motion and then have that discussion. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jenny first for staff. As you can tell from our complaint, staff believed that a permit is required, and now as Black Hills is on board, the settlement agreement was amended to take out the declaratory and add in the actual permit application. So staff just requests that you approve the amended settlement stipulation and agreement. Thank you.
Questions? Motions? In PS 25-003, I move that the commission approve the amended settlement stipulation and agreement. Discussion on the motion. I guess thanks for helping us move this along to this point anyway. Additional discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson.
Aye.
Commissioner Fegan.
Fegan votes aye.
Nelson votes aye. Motion carries. So then, yeah, your question is a good one. What do we foresee moving forward in this? I don't have a good answer to that. I fully agree with you that the position we are in is not the one that statute anticipates. I don't want the company to spend a lot of time, energy, and money on something that isn't going to get us something that's valuable, nor do I want our staff to, for that matter. I want to be practical about this, but by the same token, there's apparently a legal requirement that you both have agreed that we need to meet, and so here we are. Ms. First, have you thought about this question? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My idea, because we don't have a lot of legal precedent on what rules can be waived and what cannot, was any of the application requirements that say, for instance, the environmental issues that can be created through construction, was that in the actual application, the applicant will say, this requirement is not applicable here. Up until this point, we have not had any environmental issues, and leave it at that. So they are addressing every single aspect of the application and just pointing out which ones are applicable and which ones are not, and then that statement after that there's been no issues with that. That would be my preference and my idea of how we could streamline it. Now, there are some things such as the public interest meeting that we just can't get around. We will have to do those. But as far as the application requirements, I think legally they could just say this is not applicable and provide us what they have.
Hey, fellow commissioners, any thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Yeah, please, please.
I appreciate all of the comments so far, and I think we're pulling in the same direction, trying to figure this out. Would you anticipate a sort of a completeness review then early in that process to ensure that what we had come up with for an application was going to lead to a process that's going to result in some, like success?
A permit.
Yes.
Well, I think staff always does that when a permit application comes in, reviews it for completeness, and then waves any yellow flags if there's anything that's missing.
Certainly.
So what I would anticipate that normal process would happen, and that you two would be able to work that out.
Let me add to that a little bit then, Commissioner. So we come in with an application on day one. We have to have a public input meeting by day 60. Staff goes through its review, and we get in a wrangle at day 30 or 35 about, hey, these sections weren't completed and weren't ready to go. Do we plow forward? Do we come back with more information and supplant the application? You see, I start to run into those practical problems then there are sometimes you can't go back and replicate a study for one reason or another because of the time of year it is, and
Yeah, well, let me just kind of think out loud with you. I mean, there's a couple options, and Jenny, you're going to get to weigh in here. Obviously, you can have as many discussions with staff pre-filing that you want to, and so maybe you put your application mostly together and consult with staff on whether it is complete before you file it. That would be one option. And the second option would be that you go down the path you suggested, and if you get to day 35 and they find something that's not there, as you're well aware, you can amend as we go. And as long as we stick within the timeline, I think either of those work. Jenny, anything there that you're uncomfortable with?
No, I agree with that as well.
Commissioner and fellow commissioners, is that helpful?
It's extremely helpful, Commissioners. Thank you very much, staff. I appreciate that as well. We'll start to put some things together. As I said, there's a host of information 20-some years later that is there, but it wasn't developed with this process in mind, and so synthesizing that's going to be a bit of a challenge. But we'll stay in touch with staff on it and move forward.
Thank you. Well, just so that you know where my mind is at, I want this to be as practical as possible and get everybody legal at the end of the day. That's where my mind's at.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, I appreciate that discussion. Thanks for being here, Brett. That brings us to public comment. Don't see anybody signed up for public comment. Announcements. We're going to have a public input meeting tomorrow night on EL 26-014 in the matter of the application of Crown Ridge Energy Storage 1 LLC for a permit for an energy conversion facility. That will be at 6 p.m. in the Waverly South Shore School Gymnasium, again tomorrow evening. And then the next regularly scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, July 14th at 9:30 a.m. right here in room 413 of the State Capitol Building. Anything else for the good of the order? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Commissioner Hanson?
Aye.
Commissioner Fegan?
50 years, congratulations. I hate to say aye to adjourn your last meeting, but aye.
Nelson votes aye. We are adjourned.
SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts Programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB.